Hey guys, so welcome to the first WIS lesson for the semester. Today we're going to talk about slope. Slope is the same as the rate of change. Over the last couple days in class we've been playing with patterns and sequence, and that you guys are seeing that from one term to another you can see the rate of change. Well, today we're going to call it slope. Slope is just another word that really means the rate of change, but it's how we find it mathematically. So the rate of change is what's happening and the slope is what we find. So on the screen you'll see a really weird symbol or triangle, y over triangle x. Triangle in math just means delta. It's the Greek symbol for change. So really, to translate this really means the change in y over the change in x values. That's all you need to know today for slope. You find the change in y divided by the change in x. So for example, here's a quick graph of another pattern sequence, the number of squares and toothpick. You can quickly see that if I have one square, I have 4 toothpicks. And then if I have 2 squares, I have 7 toothpicks. If I have 3 square, I have 10. So if you look here, every time I go up 3 toothpicks, I go up 1 triangle, or I add 1 square. So every time I go up 3 toothpicks, I get another square. Every time I increase it by another 3 toothpicks, I get another square. Every time I increase it by another 3 toothpicks, I get another square. And that is basically what I just did on the screen. Looks like a little stair step. That's called the slope. To find slope, there's a couple different ways. The easiest is if they give you a graph, use a slope triangle. Just like we did in the last example, you find one point on that line that you know for sure the coordinate point, and you do what we call the rise over the run. You do the slope triangle. You go up, and then you go to the right or to the left and hit another point in that line. That's called a slope triangle. It shows the change in y. That's why we go up, and then the change in x. That's to the right. So let's practice with this one. To find the slope for this one, I know right here that that is the origin. That is 0, 0. So to find the slope, I'm going to go up 1, 2. So I'm going to go up 2. And then I'm going to go to the right, 1, 2, 3. 3. And remember that slope is defined as the change in y over the change in x. So my slope is going to be 2/3. 2/3. And that's how you use the slope triangle. You move from one point of the line to the other. Let's find this slope. To find this slope, here's a point that I know for sure. This is -1, +2. That's the ordered pair. To find this slope, all I have to do is go here. I'm going to move down and to the right until I create a slope triangle or a triangle, and then just count how many times I went down. 1, 2, 3. I went down 3, and going down means -3. And then I'm going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a +5 because I'm going to the right. So my slope in this case again is y over x, delta y over delta x. So it's going to be -3/5. Slope, you might have heard it before last year, or from last year. It's called, also known as the rise over the run, the vertical change and over the horizontal change. So all you have to do is find a point on that line and do your rise over your run. So right here. And the cool thing about being on a line on a graph is that no matter how big your slope is, for example, if I want to go to B to C, I can actually draw a long vertical line all the way up and then just find another point and connect it to that line like I just did. And then all I got to do is count. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a +4 rise. And then to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a +6. So my slope is +4 over +6. Because remember, it's y over x. And then I just reduce this fraction down. So 4, 6, a factor between 4 and 6 is 2. So it's going to be 2/3. 2/3 is my slope. So my slope is 2/3. And you can always simplify because you can also go from here 1, 2, and then over to the right, 1, 2, 3, and you'll still be on that line. So either way, the smallest slope that we can get is 2/3. Remember that the slope is the rise over the run. So even without a graph, it's pretty simple. The second easiest way without a slope triangle is if they give you more than 1 point or 2 points or 3 points, just stack them on top of each other. So for example, I got 7, 2. I know that this is x and this is y. I'm going to match it up. 1, 26, just stack them on top of each other, and then find the difference, the change in y over the change in x. So from here to here, that's a 2 to 26, that's a positive 24. From 7 to 1, well, 7 to 1, that's a negative 6. Again, write this down, delta y over delta x. So y is 24, x is negative 6. I reduce that down. My slope is negative 4. My slope is negative 4. Why don't you go ahead and find the slope for this one? Now remember your positive and negative integers and the rules about adding opposites and adding negatives. You can pause the video or you can just continue on with me. Again, find for each coordinate, find the rate of change or the slope. So they gave me the point -3, -3, and -5, and -9. All I gotta do is stack them on top of each other. -3, -3, on top of -5, -9, and then I gotta find the delta y over the delta x, the change in y over the change in x. So how do I get from -3 to -9? Well, that's the negatives is getting smaller, so I'm going to add -6. And how do I get from -3 to -5? Oh, well, I am adding -2. So delta y over delta x is -6 over -2, and that reduces down to positive 3 over 1, because remember, a negative divided by negative is a positive. So my slope is 3 over 1, or just 3. That's pretty much it for the lesson, the find slope. Let's talk about some common mistakes. Some common mistakes that a lot of students do at first when finding slope is they do x over y. Remember, that is not how you find slope. Slope is the change in y over the change in x. In other words, the easiest way to remember is delta y over delta x. On a graph, I have to go rise over the run. So remember, do not do x over y for the slope. We graph each individual coordinate point. For example, 1, 2, x, y. But once we're on the graph, to move from one point to another point on that graph, on that line, you have to do delta y over delta x. So from here, for example, if I want to go from 1, 2 to 2, 3, the change in y is +1. The change in x is also +1, so my slope is 1 over 1. Delta y over delta x. Please remember that. We're going to practice this in class, and I'll show you guys some more examples. So that's all I have today. Don't forget to watch the video, summarize, and write down questions, and we'll go over in class tomorrow. Have a good day.